Wrigley loss for Jim Riggleman and the Cubs, who have seen their home record even out at a disappointing 19-19 with a 5-4 loss to the Royals, a loss that came despite some excellent defensive plays and a ninth-inning defensive miscue by Gold Glove candidate Jermaine Dye in right. A Royals win thanks to the unlikeliest of heroes. Tonight, Riggleman turns again to Steve Traxel, who has found the friendly confines anything but that in '99. Steve hopes he's back on track after an impressive win against the Sox last Sunday. It's the Cubs and Royals, Game 2 under the lights, and it's coming up next. It's time for Cubs baseball, a misty night here at Wrigley Field. Tonight it's Game 2 of a 3-game set between the surprisingly offensive-minded Kansas City Royals and your Chicago Cubs. Hello again, everybody, along with Steve Stone, Chip Carey. Welcome to Wrigley Field, where we hope Mother Nature will cooperate. The forecast a bit spotty for baseball later on, but so far so good. It is dry. We hope to have the game starting on time. And Steve, when we do, the Cubs have got to start taking advantage of this home schedule. Just a .500 record here at home. That's not going to get it done if this team's going to rebound in the second half.
Last year, the team dominated at home, and if you look at the numbers, you'll see why. Now this year, they're hitting better. They're scoring a little bit better. But the ERA, as you can see, you can't lay the whole blame on the pitching staff, but with a 5.64 ERA, you're not going to get much done in this ballpark, and the worst part of it is that they've been out-homered at home. And you're right, Chip, this Kansas City Royal team, although they don't hit the ball out of the park a lot, they are a good offensive club.
So you hope Steve Traxel will have a good game tonight. He pitched very well in the final game of the first half of the season, and that's an encouraging sign. When your opening day starter's 3-12, you know you're in trouble, and Steve's trying to turn things around here in the second half.
I think Steve Traxel's going to have a very good second half, and I think he kicked it off with an outstanding performance against the White Sox. That ended the first half. He's looking for more of the same here tonight against a hard-throwing right-hander, Jay Witasick. There you look at Traxel, what he did last time out. He threw the ball exceptionally well. And the Cubs have to start taking advantage of this homestand because it's then on the road to New York and Montreal, a couple of places where wins are tough to come by.
2-2 on the homestand so far, but let's see if we can beat these Royals. Another capacity crowd on hand on a gorgeous night for baseball. We're glad you're with us. It's the Cubs and the Royals. Starting lineups come your way right after this timeout. Tuesday night for baseball here at Wrigley Field. As you see, another huge crowd gathering for the Royals and the Cubs. A special moment before the ball game today. Head football coach at Palatine High School, Joe Patrica, threw out the first pitch today, and Joe's teams have won the MSL North Championship 7 times, a record of 103-40. Inducted into the Illinois Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame in April of this year. So congratulations to Joe and welcome to Wrigley Field. Here's the Royals lineup. They were big winners yesterday, 5-4, with Johnny Damon, Carlos Fabulous at second base, Carlos Beltran, an outstanding looking outfielder, hits third, Mike Sweeney at first base, Jermaine Dye in right, Joe Randa with a long hit streak of 15 games at third base, Tim Spear hit a 3-run homer last night, Ray Sanchez, the former Cub, is at short, Jay Witasick, the pitcher, bats ninth against Steve Traxel of the Cubs.
The Pepsi defense for Jim Riggleman and the Cubs, Rodriguez, Goodwin, and Sosa left to right. In the infield, Houston, Hernandez, Morandini, and Grace. Joliet, Jeff Reed behind the plate, and Steve Traxel on the mound trying to win his 4th game of the year. There you look at the numbers for Steve Traxel. The ERA up there, and this his 20th start. He's 0-1 lifetime against the Royals, a 6.08 ERA in 2 starts, so he hasn't fared very well against them. However, tonight probably is a Steve Traxel type of night. The wind is blowing pretty much straight in, and that means that Steve can get away with a few more high fastballs, give up a fly ball without fear that it's going to rocket out of the ballpark. It is a good pitcher's night.
So we'll see if Steve can take advantage here at home. Again, a record of 3-12 on the year. Kerwin Danley will call the balls and strikes. Mike Winters at first, Bob Davidson at second, and Ed Montague, the umpire, over at third. Johnny Damon set to go for Kansas City. The Cubs come in at 43-46 now, 10 games out of first place. Last place in the Central behind the Houston Astros. The Cubs 8 games behind the Reds for the National League wild card. So no time like the present to start making some moves against the Cardinals, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, and company in our division.
If you're going to stay away from Damon, then Henry Rodriguez in a pretty good spot. He's shading over toward the left field line, and Damon will lift a lot of fly balls that way.
Damon went 0 for 4 in the game last night. hitting .295, 9 homers and 49 runs driven in. A .371 on base percentage. And Traxel will try to keep that number at 68. Be a good idea to keep these guys off the scoreboard in the first, something the Cubs could not do yesterday.
Last time out, Steve had a very good split finger fastball, and he used it pretty much when he's ahead. That becomes the key. You stay ahead, then you can wipe the hitter out on that split finger.
Sliced out of play by Damon. 2-2 the count. Well, the rooftop's pretty well populated tonight. I'd guess about at 65-70% capacity across the streets. Tony Muser, his ball club won the game 5-4 yesterday. He got his contract extended July 14th. And the crowd here at Wrigley and in the neighborhood wants to see the Cubs even the series tonight. Right back up the middle and speared by Jose. He'll have to hurry. Wild throw. Grace got a glove on it, but no advance by Damon. And we'll see how that's scored. It should be and is an infield hit. So Damon with good speed is aboard. Did Steve get a piece of this ball?
Looks like he did, Chip. I think it hit right off the glove. Otherwise, it's in the center field. It gave Jose the opportunity. But as soon as the ball hit off the glove, the throw went well wide of the bag. Fortunately for the Cubs, it didn't go in the dugout, so it is a base hit. No error charge on a very tough play. Now you have a very speedy base runner on in first base. And there is no doubt that Damon will try to take advantage of the Reed-Traxel combination. Now, Traxel's got a pretty good move. That might come into play. Damon's swiped 16 bases, been caught just 5 times.
Kansas City has stolen 66 bags on the year. That's 4th highest in the American League. And that's the way, Steve, they have to play, especially in their ballpark. It's a very spacious place at Kauffman Stadium. They hit a lot of doubles, a lot of triples. Don't hit the ball out of the ballpark. But they can create offense like some of those great National League offensive stolen base teams like the Cardinals, for example.
Well, I think Tony Muser also is a National League style of manager. He's going to have to be tonight with the wind blowing in.
A bunt, and it's a beauty. Tyler charges. He'll put it in his pocket wisely. Infield hit. Fabulous with a bunt single. 2 on, nobody out.
Tyler was not in quite enough, and that was absolutely a perfect bunt. It's high infield grass here in Chicago, and if you lay it down perfectly, there's not much you can do with it. So 2 on, nobody out, and we'll watch a perfectly executed bunt. Fabulous with very good speed. By the time Tyler got there, nothing he can do with it. So now you have 2 speed merchants on for Carlos Beltran, and he's had quite a year.
Boy, and you could tell the grass is starting to get thick and lush. It almost disappeared in that replay shot down at third. Looked like a melting snow cone in the grass. Here's Beltran. 1 for 4 yesterday. He tries to bunt, and it's a foul ball. Fortunately for him, it didn't hit him while he was out of the box. Otherwise, he would have been called out.
Beltran's hit into 11 double plays this year. Surprisingly, 8 of them from the left side. And this is a guy that can also get down the line in a hurry. So he has tremendous speed. The switch hitter, who's been a much better hitter from the left side, hitting .307 this year. Twice as many home runs as a left-hand hitter. And, of course, he has many more at-bats that way. But this is a pretty potent offensive lineup.
No balls and a strike. 2 on, nobody out. And you're right about this team. They're on pace to score a record number of runs. They've already scored 503 runs this year. Their team record is 851. And that was back in 1979. If they had any kind of pitching and bullpen help, who knows where this team would have been. Certainly not as far under 500, 17 games as they are. As it stands, they're in 3rd place, 20 games behind Cleveland, and 7 games behind the 2nd place White Sox.
Well, it's the pitching that's put them there. The ERA at 5.37, 2nd from the bottom. Only Seattle is worse. But the offense, 5th in the league behind Cleveland, Baltimore, Seattle, and 1 point behind the White Sox.
2 balls, 1 strike to Beltran with Mike Sweeney waiting on deck. We're in the top of the 1st at Wrigley Field. The pitch. Low. 3-1 now. Now Steve has real problems.
And Jeff Reed's going out there. What he wants to tell Steve is keep a real close eye on Damon at 2nd. If you think that Beltran can make contact here, and bear in mind he has fanned 75 times this year, this would be a decent situation to run. The Cubs have given up 68 runs in the first inning. That's their highest total in any inning of the game, so they're in trouble again here in the first.
And Steve's been the Cubs' chief offender. He's given up 21 by himself. He's in danger of surrendering an early lead here tonight. 3 balls and a strike. Swung on. There's a drive. Hammered deep right field. Sosa on the run. At the track. At the wall. It's off the wall. And here comes the merry-go-round. Damon rounds third. He'll score. Fable's coming around. Here's the relay. It's up the line. A triple. 2-0 Kansas City.
Well, normally that one is well into the seats. As it was, it's a 2-run triple. RBI 61 and 62 for Beltran. You fall behind 3-1, you have to go at a very talented hitter with a fastball, and he hits it high off the ivy. And just like that, the Kansas City Royals have a 2-run lead. 3-1 fastball right down the middle. Beltran hits it as hard as you can hit it and still keep it in the park. Sammy, with really no chance to get this one, gets trapped too close to the wall. That allows the triple. And you see the great speed of Fabulous. He was right on the back of Damon, who had to hold up to see if the ball was going to be caught.
So it's 2-0 already in favor of Kansas City. Still nobody out, and here's Mike Sweeney. Way high to him. 1 ball, no strike. Sweeney went 2 for 4 yesterday. Drove in 1 of the 5 Kansas City runs. So 70 first inning runs allowed by the Cubs so far. 23 by Traxel. And the Cubs already have Grace in at the grass at first. Tyler a step behind the bag at third, halfway up the middle. It's 2-0. Other baseball, Sean Green has just hit a grand slam for Toronto. They've tied the Braves 4-4 in the third. Phillies lead Tampa 5-0 in the third. Marlins lead the Red Sox 5-0 in the second. Out of play. It's 2-1. Red Sox also got bad news. Pedro Martinez will miss a start. His shoulder is sore. Can't lose him if they're going to catch the Yankees or hang on to that wild card. Toronto is just 3 games behind Boston for that AL playoff spot, by the way. Two and 1. Swung, line foul. It's 2-2. Three hitters, 3 hits, and 2 runs in for Kansas City, and still no one out. Sweeney with 12 homers looks for his 62nd RBI here. And he's got it. Base hit up the middle. 4 straight hits. It's 3-0.
Fans here getting a little restless with the performance of Steve Traxel. RBI number 62 for Sweeney. 4 straight hitters. Here comes Marty Demerit.
Damon led the game off with a ball hit right back up the middle. Traxel deflected it to Hernandez. He couldn't recover to make the play at first. It was an infield hit. Fabulous then rocked a single. Beltran hit the ball off the 368 mark in right center field. That scored 2. Then Mike Sweeney on a 2-2 pitch drives home his 62nd run, and just like that, the Cubs are down 3 here in the first and still nobody out.
Well, Traxel, like most pitchers, can't pitch from behind because he doesn't have that overpowering fastball. So when he gets behind, he has some problems. He's gotten behind here tonight. It's led to 4 straight hits, and you're not out of the woods yet because you've got Dye and Randa both hitting over 300.
Well, we told you at the start of this series yesterday, this Royal team, you can't take this ball club for granted. They score, and they have speed, and they can create runs. They give teams problems offensively. Problem is, as an opponent, you're never really out of the game with them as long as you can get into that pen. But it's a 3-0 affair, and there's still no one out for Jermaine Dye. He rifles the first pitch out of play. How about Sweeney, Stoney? Had a grand total of 90 career runs driven in before this season. He has 62 right now.
He's getting a chance to play, and he's made the most of it.
And here's Dye. Dye was a very busy man last night. 9 putouts in right field. The one he didn't catch, though, made things interesting. That was the drive by Mickey Morandini that scored a couple of runs in the 9th inning with 2 outs. Dye turned the wrong way, couldn't corral those size 13 feet. And the Cubs very nearly came back and tied it in the last at bat. 1 ball, 1 strike. Boy, they're getting good cuts. 1 and 2.
That was a pretty good pitch, though. He threw it inside. There was nothing that Jermaine could do with it. You don't have to worry about Sweeney running too often. He's only tried 2 stolen base attempts. This is one of the few hitters that Traxel has been ahead.
One ball, 2 strikes. The pitch. Line drive left center field. That's going to drop. Sweeney around second. He'll chug toward third. Goodwin up quickly. First and third. Nobody out. 5 straight hits.
Well, I think we're going to see the bullpen start to work. As Traxel has been rocked here in the first inning. 4 singles and a triple. And now you have a man with a long hitting streak in Joe Randa. This is a split finger, but it doesn't do much as Jermaine Dye now is 4 for 4 lifetime against Steve Traxel. And it looks like Steve Rain throwing in the bullpen. Well, the Cubs were hoping for Rain after this first inning. They got him. He's warming up.
First and third for Rando with a 15-game hit streak. It's 3-0 Kansas City.
Now, Jermaine Dye has stolen only 1 base. I would think keep your concentration on Randa.
That one dances in for a strike. Two.
Randa's one of those guys that keeps moving around because he is a third baseman by trade, but he doesn't have a whole lot of power. And this year he's committed 15 errors at third. However, offensively, he certainly has been a force at 323.
He just missed the inside corner. The umpires in the crowd thought that was good enough. But it's 1 and 2. Frankly, Kerwin Danley hasn't had enough pitches to look at. They've all been whistling past the Cubs infielders here. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2 and 2. .25 pitches now for Traxel, and not a man has been retired yet. Cubs will trade a run for a double play here. Randa 1 for 3 yesterday. Rifles that down the right field line. The wind, however, pushing it into the seats, and he'll get another swing on the house. 2 balls, 2 strikes. I don't think I've ever seen a pitcher go through the kind of turnaround from year A to year B than what we've seen out of Steve Traxel.
Now, this has been a tough year for him pretty much from the start of this season till today.
Here comes the 2-2 again. Rifled, caught by Tyler. Throw back to first, but not in time to double up Dye. One man down. Now Trax is a double play ball away from escaping with only 3 runs scored.
This one almost got over the head of Tyler Houston, but he's able to make the play, and thinking about 2, getting it back across, but Jermaine Dye with a heads-up base running play. So now you have a slow running catcher in a situation to hit the double play ground ball and get out of the inning.
Spear had 2 hits yesterday, including a 3-run homer after an intentional walk in the 6th. That's the blow that broke the game open for Kansas City. First and third, 1 man out and a strike. Dye does not run all that much or really all that well. He's only 1 for 3 on the year. You know, Kansas City obviously wants to stay out of the double play here. Let's see if Tony Muser rolls the dice and puts Dye in motion. Traxel thinking that, fires to first and forces him to dive back. Beautiful night for a Lake Michigan sail. Plenty of wind power to get back home. Line drive hit toward left. Henry comes charging. He's make the catch. Tagging from third is Sweeney. The throw cut off. And it's a 4-0 game. A sac fly by Spear drives home his 22nd run. Dye stays at first. They're now 2 men out. So KC will send 8 men to the plate here in the first inning, and Ray Sanchez will bat with 2 men down. Well, we'll see if Ray can strut his stuff here in the first inning. 1 for 4 yesterday. That a single in the 5th.
Steve's very much worried about the tremendous speed of Jermaine Dye, and I'm not sure if that should be his biggest worry at this point.
Four runs, 5 hits for Kansas City, and we're still in the top of the first. The pitch is out of play. 0-1. Well, Kansas City's got to be delighted with what Sanchez has brought to this team. Dependable hitter, catches just about everything in the field, and he's really helping along Fabulous, the Rookie of the Year candidate second baseman.
Well, he's given him a wonderful double play combination.
No balls and a strike. Runner goes, pitch high, the read throw low, but Jose picks it up and applies the tag, and the inning is over. You see why Dye does not run that often. He's very, very slow of foot. 4 runs, 5 hits in the first inning, however, for Kansas City. We go to the bottom half. The Royals have jumped out big early. KC leads at 4-0. Here's the Cubs Pepsi starting lineup for manager Jim Riggleman. Mickey Morandini leads it off, followed by Jose Hernandez and Mark Grace. Sammy Sosa bats in the cleanup spot, followed by Henry Rodriguez, who homered yesterday. Tyler Houston at third. Joliet Jeff Reed behind the plate. Curtis Goodwin in center. Steve Traxel pitches. Bats ninth against Jay Watasek.
And the defense for Tony Muser and the Kansas City Royals. Damon, Beltran, and Dye in the outfield. Randa, Sanchez, Fabulous, and Sweeney round out the infield with Tim Spear behind the plate. And Jay Watasek on the mound. This is his 15th start. This was a guy that throws very hard and worked out of the bullpen almost exclusively. Then they decided to make him a starting pitcher.
He has the famous Mike Mussina pitch. Throws a knuckle curve.
And usually what happens, Chip, is scouting report is from a windup he's able to keep his control. The stuff stays pretty sound. He stays together. But sometimes trying to combat base runners from a stretch, he'll rush, and then the control isn't quite there. So quite obviously, putting base runners on, especially early, might be the way to get to him.
Well, we need him early and late. We're down 4 after a half inning, and Mickey Morandini's set to go. Mickey 3 for 5 yesterday. Drove in a pair of runs, and Wojtaszek misses with ball one high. That guy's calling home. He knows how to work that cell phone, saying we just got to the ballpark. It's already 4-0. But it's early. And that's right through there. Montreal said tonight, Steve, we're not going to be perfect gamed again. They lead the Yankees 2-0 in the third in the Bronx. 1 ball, 1 strike to the Cubs leadoff man, Mickey Morandini, and that's right through there.
Well, that fastball is 93, 94 miles an hour. It's a pretty good one. And Wojtaszek is a pretty nice size right-hander.
They got him from the Oakland A's at the end of spring training, and Mickey might have extra bases. It's ripped into right. Dye over quickly. Mickey makes a big turn. Dye cuts him off and makes a terrific throw. Long single by Morandini, and the Cubs leadoff man aboard. That's his 4th hit of the series. Now we'll see if that scouting report is accurate. First man up, first man on.
Mickey takes that knuckle curveball that doesn't do much and drives it into right field. Jermaine Dye juggles it, but he's got such a strong arm that you don't want to run, especially 4 runs down. He has some problems right here with the footing, but then makes a good strong throw.
Here's Jose Hernandez. He went 1 for 5 yesterday, and his bat has really come to life. He had a real rough stretch from the end of May until about the 20th of June, where he didn't drive in a single run. But since then, he's driven home 15 and has hit 7 home runs in his last 23 outings.
Kenny's are here from Nuts on Clark. And there is Zachary Kenny, his 5th birthday today, so we want to send him a very happy birthday.
No balls, 1 strike. Rifled out of play. It's 0-2. Crowd boos as a fan couldn't hang on to that soft, lazy pop fly foul into the seats. But perhaps a chance later on in the ball game. Oh, 2. 1-2.
Well, you can see the difference. That's what we talked about with base runners on. Teams are hitting 407. Bases empty, hitting just 249. So with Mickey on to lead it off, maybe the Cubs can start chipping away at that 4-run lead.
1-2. He swung late and stays alive. Well, they're in the 4th inning down in Tampa. They might be running out of baseballs. Phillies lead Tampa 10-2 already.
Scott Rowland has really started to heat it up. He is just mashing the ball. 8 home runs his last 14 games. I'm not sure what he's done tonight, but he came in red hot.
He's 3 for 3. He's driven in 4, and he's hit 2 more home runs tonight. He's got 24.
Jeez.
So he's had 4 home runs in his last game and a half. And that is a very, very friendly hitter's park, despite the broad outfield dimensions at Tropicana Field in Tampa. Actually St. Petersburg, but Tampa Bay, I guess, is the more appropriate locale. 2 balls, 2 strikes here in the Cubs first. We're down 4 to the Royals. Chased ball 3. That was over his head.
That really helps out Wojtaszek. He could have been in some pretty big trouble as he throws a high fastball. And Jose with no chance to catch up to it up there.
96 strikeouts for Hernandez. That takes over the national end of Major League Baseball lead. 1 ahead of Derek Bell of Houston. Here's Grace. Grace 1 for 4 in the series. Drove in a run yesterday with a 1st inning single. Is hitting .314 with 11 homers and 57 driven in. 1 ball, no strikes. Some big names in baseball are smarting right now. Pedro Martinez is out. Jarrett Wright out with a sore shoulder. He's being examined in Cleveland today.
Tony Gwynn has been out for quite some time.
He's missed 41 of the last 44 games for San Diego, and that's when they went on their huge run. Remember, they had a 14-game winning streak.
And how about Jeremy Burnitz? He'll be lost to Milwaukee, and Milwaukee is starting to play some pretty good baseball, but they will miss Burnitz.
No doubt. Cleveland already without Travis Fryman. Got some bad news yesterday. Sandy Alomar in a rehab start struggled with that left knee again. 2-0. Right through there, 2-1. And of course, Frank Thomas on Chicago's south side, a bruised foot. He's day to day. So some big names really smarting right after the All-Star break. That man not smarting tonight. He's leading by 4, but it is early. Runner at first, 1 out, the 2-1. Grace upset with himself, couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, I think Mark Grace got outguessed there because that one was right down the middle, and he just took it, looking for something else. Fantastic, a big man at 6'4", 235 pounds, just 5'10" lifetime. There's Glenn Allen Hill, whose name has been talked about prominently in trade rumors.
2-2. Rifled foul back. Well, if I were the Toronto Blue Jays, I would be calling the Cubs about that man. They got a gaping hole in the DH spot. They let Jose Canseco walk, you'll remember.
I got to believe that Glenn Allen Hill has tremendous value. He's done such a great job since coming over here, and he also showed something that a lot of people didn't think he could do, and he has not been a bad fielder for the Cubs.
No,
everybody said he came over, a guy who could hit the ball but couldn't field. We haven't seen a lot of that. He's fielded certainly well enough, and he's hit everything in sight.
2 balls, 2 strikes. The pitch. Pop, foul back toward us and off to the left. And out of play. Well, let's see who's the DH for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. Toronto playing Atlanta. Willis Otañez is the DH for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. He's hitting 220.
Yeah, but it's a hard 220.
It is a hard 220. There's no doubt about that. Here comes the 2-2 to Gracie. Ground ball right side. Dropped by the first baseman. Flipped to the pitcher. He can't handle it. Morandini on his way to third. Chaos on the base pass. That should have been 1 for sure, maybe 2. Instead, they get none.
Well, they know that they give up a lot defensively with Sweeney at first. But you got to make the play at first base after you couldn't make the play at second. And the Cubs get a huge break. Watch it again. Now drops out of his glove. You still have plenty of time to make the play at first. But this has got to be an error on Watasek. You got to make that catch.
There are 2 errors on the play. I think one on Sweeney for dropping the ball, and another one either for the bad throw to the first baseman or to the pitcher. Either way, it's a 2-error play, and the Cubs have him first and third. And Watasek went down to a knee after the play at first, and now the trainer for the Royals checking him out.
Well, you see right there, it looked like he twisted his right ankle. Mickey on his way to third, so runners at the corners. And I think you're going to see an error on Sweeney on the original bobble, and then an error on Watasek for missing the throw. No, they give 2 errors on Sweeney. From the Southwest Airlines Plainview camera, we'll take a look at this. That's a good enough throw to catch by Watasek, but Sweeney picks up 2 errors. He's not going to win a Gold Glove anyway. And the advantage is that the Cubs have runners at the corners instead of being out of the inning.
And Sammy Sosa in the batter's box, and wind or no wind, he's strong enough to drive it out of the ballpark. So it's a 4-0 game, but a crazy first inning. And Sweeney and Jeremy Giambi learning first base on the fly. Remember, Jeff King retired on this Kansas City team about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And his absence certainly showed on that play a moment ago. So a single and 2 errors on the same play sets it up for Sammy. And he takes high, 1 ball, no strikes. First and third for the Cubs with one man out. Home run cut. And it's even at a ball and a strike.
Well, Tasik's going to probably try to just throw high fastballs by Sammy this entire at bat. He might mix in that breaking ball down, but the problem is you got Mickey Morandini just 90 feet away. And it would be a tough play for Spear on that knuckle curve in the dirt.
And again, you don't have to get all four here in the first. You'd be glad to do it, but chip away at these guys. One ball, one strike, first and third, one down.
I think Sammy should get ready for the heat because I think that's all he's going to see here.
Cubs the last couple games, Tony, have had plenty of base runners, but have been only able to score one in each of the first couple of innings. And none against Minnesota on Saturday. One and two. Henry waiting on deck. Popped up right overhead. Tigers are doing it to Cincinnati again. They're beating the Reds 3-1. Jeff Weaver against Pete Harnish in that game. Boy, that kid Weaver is supposed to be the real deal. 1 run, 2 hits through 4 for the young right-hander. Here it's 4-0 Kansas City. First and third for the Cubs. Sosa in, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, here comes that knuckle curve. Let's see if he hangs it.
Not that time, and Sosa, good job just to fight it off. That seems like an almost impossible combination of pitches to throw, a knuckleball and a curveball all at once.
Well, it's really a misnomer. It is a curveball. It's just thrown with the finger tucked in instead of the fingers extended, but it is a curveball. I think you're going to see if Spear sets up inside, you'll probably see some heat.
1-2. 1 out. He does throw hard, but he missed 2-2. Nothing wrong with this guy's arm. There's no doubt about that. Two balls, 2 strikes. High drive, hammered center field. Back goes Beltran, but he's got to play. He makes it. Tagging from third is Morandini. He will score. Give Sammy Sosa his 81st run driven in. And the Cubs get 1 here in the first, and the Royal lead now 4-1.
This fastball's right down the middle and not quite as high as he'd want. Sammy thought he got a piece of it, but now with the wind blowing straight in, Sammy, from the Southwest Airlines Plainview camera, Sammy hit this ball pretty hard, but the wind just grabs it and bats it right back to Beltran. And Mark Grace tagged up, but that's one arm you don't want to run on. That man in center as well as the man in right.
Sammy third in the National League in RBIs now with 81, just 1 behind Jeff Bagwell of Houston and 4 behind Matt Williams of Arizona. Runner at first, 2 outs for Henry, and he missed it. 0-1.
And Henry is our Comet Power Profile, and you see why. Over the last 26 games, 7 home runs. He's driven in 25 with a .340 batting average, and that's why he is our Comet Power Profile.
No balls and a strike. Low and away. New goodies from the Nuts on Clark folks, huh? They changed it up on us. You gotta love the Nuts on Clark.
Indeed.
1 ball, 1 strike. Rolled off his body, 1-2. Got a little popcorn, little cheese popcorn, some licorice. Some Honey roasted peanuts. Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
You see Henry take it right off the instep. Mark Grace talking it over with Sweeney at first. That's why Henry wears that shin guard just below the knee. That's usually breaking balls, most likely sliders in that you foul off that lead knee.
Grace at first, the 1-2. He's out of play again and on top of the roof. Down the left field line. Well, looking out toward the northwest, skies look pretty clear. Can actually see some of the buildings off into the horizon.
Yes, but the weather comes from behind the stadium, unfortunately. It's clear there.
And hopefully it'll stay that way. 1-2. Again, he fouls it away. And a fine catch by a well-gloved fan in the first row right by the exit door. Hey, he's a Pirate fan, though. It's a couple of days early. Pittsburgh will be in Wednesday and Thursday. And there are some good seats available, so come on out to the ballpark. 1-2. The pitch. High drive again. Playable for Johnny Damon in left. He'll battle the winds. He'll charge in. He'll put it away with two hands. And the Cubs settle for one here in the first. 1 run, 1 hit, 2 errors, 1 man left. After 1, it's 4-1 Kansas City.
Well, after a very spiffy first inning at 45 minutes, we move to the second. And Steve Traxel will lead it off with Ray Sanchez and a chance to work through this lineup again, a lineup that was so tough on him the first time through.
First 5 men hit safely. And Steve gave up 4 here in that first inning. Both pitchers could use an easy inning. Both of them threw 31 pitches in their first frame. Sanchez the man in the box when Jermaine Dye was thrown out trying to steal, so he gets his second look at Traxel, but his first officially in tonight's ball game.
And I'm sure that Marty DeMera told Steve Traxel between innings, you've got to throw strike 1. Without getting ahead of hitters, you've got big problems.
Well, the biggest pitch of the game was the 3-1 pitch to Beltran. And he ripped it off the wall and right for a triple. And 2 runs scored. Sanchez pops this up right side. Playable for Grace. Fair ground now. Foul ground now. 1 down. So the leadoff man down for the first time for Kansas City in the game. And now Jay Wojtaszek will be the batter. He's 0 for 3. A strike called. 0-1. Oh, and 2. Well, we want to wish a very happy birthday to a former Cub great, Phil Cavarretta, celebrating his 83rd birthday today. The Cavarretta family will be keeping the birthday cake folks in business. Phil's grandson Matthew will celebrate number 20 tomorrow. So Phil, greetings. Happy 83rd and many, many more. Wojtaszek goes around. He strikes out. Can't believe it. 2 men down. And speaking of tomorrow, the series finale against Kansas City, it'll be Barbie Day at the ballpark. First 10,000 females attending the Cubs-Royals game receive a Cubs Barbie, compliments of the Museum of Science and Industry, and we understand Barbie will be singing the 7th inning stretch. Top of the order now, and Johnny Damon. That guy looks a lot like Traxel, doesn't he? Holding that baby boy. Facially looks just like him to me. High pop right side. Steve will have a 1-2-3 second inning. Just what the doctor ordered. Grayson Fairground puts it away in the inning over. 4-1 Kansas City. We go to the bottom half of inning number 2. Well, Ted Butterman and the Wrigley Field Band at the ballpark entertaining the good folks in the bleachers. Arnie Harris is their recording agent, so if you like the music, check out Arnie. He'll be glad to send you one of Ted and the band's CDs. Here we go to the second inning. 4-1 Kansas City. Tyler Houston on a 1-for-12 homestand lines the first pitch into left, right toward Johnny Damon. He charges in, 1 down.
Well, the key for Steve Traxel in that second inning was throwing strike 1. And I have to believe Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, said the same thing to Wojtaszek. Both pitchers piled up a lot of pitches in that first inning.
31 for Traxel in the first, 9 in the second. For Wojtaszek, same story. 31 in the first, 1 here in the second so far, and 1 man out. For Joliet, Jeff Reed. Jeff hitting .254 on the campaign with the Cubs. He's 4 out of 16. And he takes the ball high, 1-0. Four to 1 Kansas City. And 2-0 now.
That wind blowing in as hard as it is makes it a pretty good night to keep the ball on the ground and hit line drives. Fly balls aren't going anywhere.
2-1. That's why we figured tonight would be a pretty good night for Traxel. Ordinarily, he is a fly ball pitcher, and last year he benefited from those same kind of wind patterns here at home. But not so tonight. He's down 3 runs. Little looping line drive into right will drop in front of Dye. A 1-out hit for Reed. His 5th as a Cub. Here's Curtis Goodwin. White Sox lead Milwaukee 2-1 that game in the third. Cardinals over Minnesota 2-zip in the third in St. Louis. Giants got 3 in the first in Arlington. They lead the Rangers 3-zip. Later on, San Diego and Anaheim. Colorado's at Oakland, and Arizona battles the Seattle Mariners.
There's a big Cub fan and a face painter. Nice hair also.
Be a good look for you. The pitch right back up the middle. Ray Sanchez spears it, and Goodwin's retired for out number 2. A soft looping line drive. Here's Traxel.
Might be a good look when we move to the bleachers on Thursday for you to entertain. And also, because you are not accompanying us to New York, you can do that. I, on the other hand, do not want to look like the Statue of Liberty as I.
Well, you're going to New York for crying out loud. You could dress just like the statue if you wish. After all, you move like one these days. Here's Traxel. Swing and a miss. 0-1. They're watching in Industry, Illinois. Brent Bainter, 14 years old, watching with his grandpa, Jerry Vaughter, on WGN tonight. And 0-2 to Traxel. Long way to go in this ball game, but it's a 4-1 Royal affair. I really like what Herc Robinson has done with this team this year. They've put together some pretty good young talent. And Traxel down on 3 pitches, retires the Cubs in the second. No runs, 1 hit, another man left. We've stranded 2 through 2 and trail by 3. Discover Platinum Playback tonight takes us back to Yankee Stadium 1983 when Hall of Fame inductee and Royals favorite son George Brett homered with 2 out in the ninth to put the Royals ahead. Or did he? After Yankees manager Billy Martin pointed out that Brett's bat had too much pine tar on it, Brett was called out, the homer and the runs were erased And then Brett went nuts at the house that Ruth built. One of the most memorable arguments in baseball history, the pine tar incident, is our discovered payback playback. Oh, man, was that something. I remember as a kid watching that game on the Game of the Week. And
I remember as a kid watching the same game.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was awesome to see George Brett go ballistic like that.
I would say he was a little excited.
Oh, man.
First of all, not too many guys took Goose Gossage deep to win ball games. Then to have it disallowed.
And
you know, that happened to me one time. Didn't hit a home run, but got a base hit. And Steve Yeager, the catcher, looked at the pine tar that was above the label, and they called me out.
Did they really?
With a little less histrionics than George went through.
Here's Fabulous. And he takes a strike.
Yes, and I needed all the hits I could get.
I was going to say, that's not sporting.
No, I thought it was in very poor taste.
I thought you were going to send the bat and the ball to Cooperstown, for crying out loud.
It was right here at Wrigley Field against Rootin' Tootin' Bert Hooten when he pitched for the Dodgers.
And our best wishes go out to George Brett. 6 days from today, he'll be enshrined in baseball's Hall of Fame. An honor richly deserved, and same goes out to Goose Gossage. Had the great pleasure of working with the Goose while he was a member of the Seattle Mariners bullpen. And folks, you talk about a wonderful human being. He was a guy that I really felt bad about that the strike took place when it took place, because he was having a great year for Seattle, wanted to achieve a few more major league milestones. And obviously it didn't happen. What a dominating pitcher he was for so many years.
Goose and I were roommates on the road with the Chicago White Sox 1973. That was an experience,
I would imagine. I think Goose lives out in Colorado someplace.
He's quite a guy. He was from Colorado Springs, or lives there anyway.
Fabulous goes down swinging. Traxel has his second strikeout. And there's one man down.
Before the game, I had a chance to meet Efren Wolf, who was a victim of the drive-by shooting in Rogers Park. And there is the family. Fortunately, he's going to be okay. And they figure a few more weeks on crutches, and he's a terrific basketball player, and apparently it's not going to affect that. So it's nice to see him at the ballpark.
Beltran, ground ball toward Grace at first, handles the second hop quickly. 2 up, 2 down. And all of a sudden, Steve has figured things out. He's retired 7 straight. And let's pause quickly for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
Boy, the ivy looks beautiful on the fences at Wrigley Field. Steve Stone, Chip Carey, our entire WGN crew.
And what Steve Traxel has figured out, and it sounds a little bit more easily done than it is, but he's getting ahead. He's throwing strike 1. And occasionally guys will just hit it at somebody. But more than not, if you throw strike 1, it sets up a defensive at bat. Conversely, if you fall behind, it sets up an offensive at bat. And then you usually have problems.
Mike Sweeney waves and misses, and the count evens up at a ball and a strike. Caitlin and Brennan Palazzolo watching in Memphis, Tennessee. Cheering for the Cubs on WGN tonight. That just missed. They're watching in Middlesex, North Carolina. Christy Hicks will be celebrating a birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday. All the way to the backstop. 3-1.
Here's a situation where you don't want to get to the next guy with a runner on, because Jermaine Dye is 4 for 4 lifetime against Steve Traxel. And he's waiting in the on-deck circle as Traxel has righted the ship after a very rocky first.
Ground ball hit to short. Jose backhands, fires across in time, and Traxel's retired 8 men in a row. So far, 1 inning has been his downfall, but plenty of time to come back. Top of the order due for the Cubs. It's a 4-1 game. It's 4-1, and the top of the Cub order is due here in our 3rd inning. Mickey Morandini, Jose Hernandez, and Mark Grace. 5 Kansas City hits, just 2 for the Cubs. The Royals have committed the game's only errors, and it's ball 1 to Morandini. Well, good news from the Cubs training room. Glenn Allen Hill is starting to feel better for the Cubs. That's going to be a big help. He's not in the lineup tonight as Mickey takes another strike. But Hill has been flexing his muscles in batting practice. And to give you an example, you see the building out in left field? John Hershenhorn lives in that apartment. Glenn Allen Hill broke that window in batting practice with a fly ball. Mickey flies to center. Beltran puts it away. And there's one man out. Now look how far away that is. The upper left-hand pane of glass was smoked.
Well, Sammy did that during a game, but that was with the wind blowing out. The wind has been blowing in today. And Glenn Allen did it in batting practice, so you know his back is feeling a whole lot better. That's probably 500 feet.
And John, thanks a lot. He says he wants me over after the game to clean it up, and he wants me to bring a broom and Glenn Allen Hill autograph pad for the trouble. John, hope you have homeowners insurance, pal. But a long blast by Hill. In BP. 1 ball, no strikes to Jose Hernandez. And now he's ahead 2-0. He struck out on a bad ball his first time up.
Houston has taken the lead over Cleveland. The Astros, winners of 7 straight, now lead 2-0, and their pitching is silenced at potent Cleveland offense.
One hopper to second. Fabulous backs up, throws on to first. In fact, Cleveland shut out for just the second time all year by Mike Hampton the other day. That's amazing. Here's Grace. Grace reached on the 2 errors by Mike Sweeney at first. Big Cub fans, Jesse Glass and Scott Gooker watching from the University of Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma. They too have read some of the whispers about Mark Grace's fate as far as the trade deadline is concerned.
Well, essentially, Mark Grace has his fate in his own hands, because being a 10-5 man, meaning 10 years in the league with at least 5 with 1 club, you have the right to okay or veto any trade.
He hits here with the bases empty, 2 outs in the 3rd. 2 balls, no strikes. Grace has been a Cub his entire life. You know, it would be an agonizing decision, I'm sure, for Mark, and an agonizing decision for the Cubs to even consider that alternative. And hopefully this team will catch fire and we won't have to do that. 2 balls and a strike. He's closing in on 2,000 hits, and in this era of free agency and players moving all over the place, it's rare indeed nowadays to see a man play his entire career for one professional's franchise.
Let alone get 2,000 hits with the same club.
You got a Tony Gwynn, a Mark Grace. Pretty impressive. High fly ball into center field, right at Beltran. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Witasic. Here in the 3rd, we mosey along to the 4th. The Royals still lead it 4-1. Well, a couple of friends of Pete Toma at the ball game tonight. A 4-1 affair as we head to the 4th inning. In favor of Kansas City, Jermaine Dye leads it off, and he looks at ball 1.
Steve Trax would like to retire him for the first time in their head-to-head competitions. He had a base hit in the 1st inning. The 5th of 5 straight hits.
8 straight retired by Traxel. He has righted the ship. And now Dye evens the count 1-1. Ed Burks watching in Lockman, Florida. Enjoying the ball game tonight. Jim Riggleman's Cubs need to another one of those comeback wins. A strike to Dye. Well, one of the most interesting emails of the year. Alyssa here in Chicago sends along congratulations that my wife Susan and I are expecting twins. But she asks a very important question, Steve.
Yes. Do I want to hear this?
Oh, sure. You'll like it.
Okay.
2-2. Alyssa wants to know, does that mean I'll have to fight Arnie Harris for 3 of every Beanie Baby, or will Uncle Stoney take care of us?
I'll be more than happy to. I'll just break into Arnie's house and get you all the Beanie Babies and Barbies you want.
2 balls, 2 strikes. A ground ball off Dye's foot.
You know, we talk about surprising stories. Paul Bird, one of them in the National League. Kent Bottenfield, a tremendous story for St. Louis. How about former Cub Mike Morgan? 10-6 with the Texas Rangers. Won again last night. What a phenomenal year for a man who's been around seemingly since they invented the game.
It just took him a long time to find the right team.
When they do get him a few runs.
Ground ball hit sharply to second. Mickey to his left. And he throws Dye out 9 in a row. Retired by Traxel.
Well,
how many teams has Morgan played for now?
Just about every one of them. And some of them twice.
That's why I say it just took him a while to find the right one.
I do have to hand it to him. He's a study in persistence. Stays relatively healthy. And putting together just a phenomenal year for them.
And a nice guy too. And you have to tip your cap, as you said, and congratulate him for a terrific year.
And he had his best year right here when Greg Maddux was in his last year. Maddux and Morgan led the way. Morgan won 16 for the Cubs.
Here's Joe Randa. The Joker takes a strike.
So we really have to send along congratulations to Mike, because he is a good fellow and he's putting together a banner season.
Well, both pitchers have settled in now. Traxel's retired 9 in a row. Watasik's retired 5 straight.
And Traxel's been ahead of just about every hitter since that first inning.
The 1-1. Randa looks high. He's trying to replace Dean Palmer, who hit 34 home runs for this Kansas City team last year. Palmer opted for the free agent dollars in Detroit. Two and 1. Cubs down 4-1 here in the 4th. There's a drive belted deep toward left field. Forget about it. Out onto Waveland Avenue. Joe Randa now a 16-game hitting streak, and he has been crushing National League pitching. That's his 10th home run of the year, and it's a 5-1 Royal game.
Well, Randa came in hitting just under 500 against National League pitching. You might remember he played in the National League with Pittsburgh. And if he continues this, he'll petition to come back. That's RBI number 43 on his 10th home run, a 16-game hitting streak. And from the Southwest Airlines Plainview camera, Joe Randa will show you that it can be done as he takes it right through the teeth of the wind and out onto Waveland.
If there wasn't wind, that might have hit that building again that we showed you earlier.
Well, there is a Southwest Airlines Plainview camera, high top Wrigley Field, and a shot of red hot Joe Randa.
A 16-game hit streak for Randa, and Kansas City's lead is back to 5-1. Tim Spear rips it foul back. Now look at this guy.
There's a good look for the bleachers on Thursday.
And I think he's the guy that came up with a home run ball.
Skating his way into position.
1 ball, 1 strike.
I could use that look on Thursday.
You could use a lot of looks, my friend. Randa now is the 3rd Royal this year with a 16-game hit streak. Johnny Damon had 1. Mike Sweeney had 1. And they'll have a chance for 17 tomorrow.
Well, Sweeney's hit streak is one thing, and it's pretty impressive, but his RBI streak even more impressive. 13 straight games with at least 1 run batted in. That's just unbelievable.
2 balls and a strike. It tied the American League record, as a matter of fact. This Kansas City team, they score about 5.5 runs a game. They've got 5 already tonight. And the Royal fans are loving their trip to Wrigley Field. Boy, it is great for the fans, isn't it, Steve, to see the ballparks that you don't see during regular play?
I think any trip to Wrigley Field for a true baseball fan is certainly worth coming to Chicago. Make it a weekend and just enjoy this beautiful park. Maybe you can see a night game in the process, because it is gorgeous here at night. But I believe if you are a true baseball fan and you haven't seen Wrigley Field, this would be the place to come and watch baseball the way it used to be played, and probably still should be played on a daily basis.
3-2. He went around, struck out. Spear is out number 2. What makes this place so special, I think, in what you see in a sea of advertisements in Major League ballparks, is the elegant simplicity of this place.
And
the
the fact
lights, there are no advertisements inside the ballpark that are visible to the naked eye.
well, that's part of it, Chip, and also the close proximity to the players. Not only, you expect it in the lower deck, but really you're pretty close to the field even in the upper deck here. That's most unusual in this day and age.
Ray Sanchez takes a strike. Even from our vantage point, as you see the fans one row behind the bullpens, we're pretty high up, but we're still very close to the action right behind home plate. There aren't too many perches better than this one in all of Major League Baseball. Certainly Tiger Stadium deserves consideration, but that one a little bit more dangerous to your health.
I really like that. You're about as close to the hitter as the pitcher. And the ball comes back even faster than it's thrown. I was having a real good time when we did games from
I enjoyed it.
Tiger Stadium.
But I liked watching you duck in fear every
I didn't
left-hand
duck.
foul
I just
ball.
stayed behind the monitors.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Sanchez. The pitch is outside.
Well, you had a glove on, first of all.
Yes.
And to protect that enlarged cranium, you had to have a catcher's glove.
I'm not going to even return. Sanchez strikes out. 4 strikeouts for Traxel. He surrenders the home run to Randa. And the Royals now lead it 5-1 heading to the bottom of the 4th inning. Here we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. A lot of Cub fans still have plenty of hope for this game. It's 5-1 in favor of Kansas City. They're watching in Cypress, California. Gene and Irma Bidwell want to send along greetings to their sister, Lorraine Nunemaker, watching in Romeoville, Illinois. Here's Sammy Sosa. Dylan Toronto watching on his 15th birthday tonight, as is Howard Brenneman. He's watching in Hunter, Arkansas. Here's Sosa. And it's a ball low. A sac fly RBI for Sammy, who has 239 of them since opening day last year and 100 home runs. Popped out of play. The wind will push it atop the roof and on a bounce over the light standard and onto the street. 1-1. And Coach Ron Santo, hope you're feeling better. We can't wait to see you. We understand you're up and about a little bit more frequently, which is certainly good news.
Well, talking to his son the other day, he said that Ronnie is feeling a whole lot better, and certainly he'll be back. And I think sooner rather than later. I think he's getting very antsy to come back to the ballpark. Got to bring a little luck to his beloved Cub ball club. And at this point, we certainly could use it.
Two balls and a strike. Lined up the middle and into center field. Third Cub hit of the game, a leadoff single by Sosa, and here comes Henry. Watch the flash bulbs.
Well, everybody thinking they're going to get a shot of a home run. Instead, this fastball out away from Sammy, and he rifles it into center field.
So he's aboard for Henry, who flied to left his first time. Henry 4th in the National League with a .340 batting average. He swings at the first ball and pops it into shallow center. Out goes Sanchez. In comes Beltran. He's got it, 1 down.
Well, the game plan, at least for Kansas City on Henry, is to keep the ball in on his hands and keep crowding him. That's what they've been doing in the 2 games so far. And that time, that good fastball in on his hands, Henry couldn't do anything with it.
Here's Tyler.
Well, for Tyler, the bunt's available if he wants to push it at Randa, who's back at third.
Tyler also flied to left. Cubs have been pretty aggressive in this game, swinging in a lot of first pitches. Same story here. 4, 6, and 3. What a double play. Fabulous, speared it. Sanchez avoided the sliding base runner, double clutched and got Houston by a half a step. Leathered larceny here in the fourth, and we're out of luck again. Along with Steve Stone, Chip Carey, welcome back to Wrigley Field. How about these Kansas City Royals? A very impressive ball club offensively and defensively.
Well, defensively in the middle, we've seen some spectacular double plays, and we've only seen a game and a half. So Fabulous and Sanchez just doing everything defensively. Offensively, they score enough, and we've seen it in this series. They jumped on Steve Traxel early. Hopefully he can right the ship. And
that's been the story for Steve Stoney all season long. First inning problems. He gave up 4 in the first today.
And hopefully the offense can come back at Jay Watasek. This is not a guy who completes games, and he's a guy with an ERA pushing 7. Yet tonight he's so far handcuffed the offense, and he's done it with some pretty good defense in the middle. Those two guys are just terrific.
And we've seen two very different styles offensively. Kansas City, a ball club that creates a lot of runs, creates a lot of offense. The Cubs, a team built for the home run, have not been able to hit the ball out of the ballpark here tonight on a very windy evening. So we'll see which plan works the best as we're halfway through this ball game.
You think you're going to get by that cold anytime soon?
I'm trying, pal, believe me. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Watasek.
Wow.
He strikes out looking. I have always said better broadcasting through better pharmaceuticals. 1 man out. I know that's a philosophy you have adhered to for your 17 years too. I have seen your briefcase. Leadoff man down here in the 5th inning for Johnny Damon. Johnny out of Dr. Phillips High School down in Orlando, Florida. Right behind Universal Studios. And they have a very good baseball program.
He's
there.
One of your homeboys. We went over and talked with him before this series.
Nice young man. And a pretty good player, too. No balls in a strike. Remember at one point, this Royal team had about 9 million outfielders. They had to decide which ones they wanted to keep. Well, they've kept Damon, they've kept Beltran, and Jermaine Dye too.
Well, that young man in center field is a keeper because he's going to be a star in this game. Damon is not your prototypical leadoff hitter, but he's still pretty good.
He looks at another strike. It's 1-2. Wow, we're getting a lot of great email tonight. We'll try to get to all of them. A high pop to the right side. Morandini and shallow right. Damon pops out. 2 up, 2 down. And Jimmy Farrell enjoying the ball game inside the Cubs dugout.
Takes care of all the umpires and does a great job of it. Look at this double play. Good play by Fabulous, but a great job by Ray Sanchez.
He double clutched, and Sanchez had a double clutch.
Well, Ray had no choice because the timing of the play was disrupted, and he had to leapfrog over a sliding Sammy Sosa to get the throw off, and he did just that. Hard to get a piece of Ray at second base. He's very elusive, and he's got a strong arm. And he's played just about every day for these Royals.
1 ball, no strikes. A high drive belted toward left by Fabulous, but it's playable for Henry. He's got it 2 steps shy of the track, and it's 3 up, 3 down in the 5th. Halfway home here at Wrigley, lower third of the Cub order due in a 5-1 KC game. Before we continue with the ball game, let's check out what's happening down on the farm. Our Illinois Lottery hit it big report, Stoney.
Tough day for the minor leagues. They went 1-4. Iowa lost to Albuquerque. Huntsville beat West Tennessee. Daytona did win, however, beating Lakeland 6-2. It took 10 innings for Burlington to subdue my beloved Lugnuts, despite the 13th home run by Corey Patterson.
What a year he's having.
Indeed, and that is who hit it big for the Illinois Lottery.
Jeff Reed leads it off here in the 5th inning. 5-1 Kansas City. And And Jeff fouls it back. It's 0-1. Happy birthday to Joe Hannon, celebrating a birthday today, as is Macker Muldrill, watching in Xenia, Ohio. Jonah and Felicity Fiddler, watching in Marcellus, Michigan. Justin Thomas had a question out of Spencer, Iowa. Wants to know where Jody Davis is these days. Last report I heard was he was living in Gainesville, Georgia.
Probably still Gainesville, Georgia. It's the last time that I see him. Occasionally see him at the Cub convention in the wintertime. Jody looks terrific.
2 balls and a strike.
Sure he's enjoying his retirement.
Laura Miller celebrating her birthday. 30 years young. Dennis and Marcia Bullock watching in Shawnee, Oklahoma with their son Luke. The 2-1 to Jeff. High lazy fly to left. Easy play. Johnny Damon. 1 man down.
Watasik's got a pretty good moving fastball. When he keeps it away from the left-handers at the velocity he throws it, there's not much you can do with it except lift it to left field. Now we have a situation where Watasik tells both Randa and Sweeney to be careful of the bunt from Goodwin. So they'll be in at the corners.
Happy 65th birthday to Virgil Cutsforth, watching in Waterloo, Iowa. And here's Curtis. He lined out to short his first time up. Matt Green from Pekin, Illinois, wants to know, when's Ryan Sandberg eligible for Hall of Fame consideration? We talked about George Brett going in about a week or so. High lazy fly again. Boy, Watasik is pitching perfectly on this night at Wrigley Field. Another fly out.
Rhino will be eligible exactly 5 years after his date of retirement. I'm not sure just exactly when that day was, but you have to wait the 5 years, and then you go on the ballot. And I'm not sure what percentage of votes you have to stay on the ballot. I don't think Rhino will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's got a chance certainly to be voted in. I think it will take him a bit, and a lot depends really on who is eligible at the time he comes up. And a different scenario, Chip for Ron Santo, who I believe belongs in the Hall of Fame. At this point, I think Ron has to be voted in by the Old Timers Committee. And I think that will come up in a year or so, and I think he's got a pretty good chance of getting in that way.
Traxel grounds to short. Sanchez will take care of him. I think there are only 8 or 9 third basemen in the Hall of Fame, which is amazing considering how many great third sackers have played this great game of baseball. 3 up, 3 down again for the Cubs in the 5th. It's 5-1 Kansas City. They come up again here in the top of the 6th inning. Here's a look at our new Pepsi AC Chewables upcoming Cubs schedule.
Tomorrow it's going to be the Kansas City Royals in the finale of the series. Then the Buccos come to town for 2, and then it's off to New York. And the final 2 of those 4 right here on WGN, and that's the new Pepsi AC Chewable upcoming schedule.
And we'll be in the bleachers on Thursday, and some Sammy fans enjoying the game tonight. A lovely night for baseball. Thought we might have a little liquid sunshine, but Mother Nature's kept the rains away. And Carlos Beltran leads things off. Traxel misses high. Steve has retired 5 in a row. Has retired 14 of the last 15 he's faced. But a Joe Randa homer's made it a 5-1 game.
And how valuable is it to have a center fielder who can cover a world of ground, has a great arm, and a switch hitter who can hit for power from both sides of the plate? That's what you have in this young man. And there really isn't anything he can't do.
Ground ball up the middle. Jose got a good jump. Has to unload quickly. 1 down. 6 in a row retired by Traxel, and here's Mike Sweeney. Sweeney an RBI single in the first. Kansas City opened the game with 5 straight hits and led it 4-0. Almost before the seats were warmed by the paying customers. They're watching in Houghton, Louisiana. Michelle Perillo wanting Arnie Harris to sing the 7th inning stretch.
I'd like to see that.
We saw it last year. It was a very good rendition. Sweeney line drive just out of reach of the dandy little glove man Mickey Morandini. If he was the dandy tall glove man, it would have been out number 2.
Right. Normal size second baseman probably has that. It was a bullet
he is going
right
to be
off
all
the
over
glove
you tomorrow.
of Mickey Morandini. And we'll take another look at it. A rocket by Sweeney. Mickey at the top of that 2-inch vertical leap, but he can't make the play.
Well, you remember the other diminutive middle infielder that played for Kansas City, Freddie Patek.
I do indeed. But I do believe that Mickey could take Freddie to the bucket and definitely dominate him on the boards.
Oh,
Freddie was 5'4".
He's going to cream you tomorrow. And I'm going to be there to watch it. That's the best thing. Here's Dye. He's 1 out of 2. 0-1. Harley McDowell celebrating his 81st birthday today in Ottumwa, Iowa. No balls and a strike. We showed you in our pregame tease and our Discover Payback Playback the Pine Tar incident with George Brett, one of the most famous scenes in baseball history. Toya Harold and Steve Eulitz watching in Little Rock, Arkansas, want to know what the rule is as far as the pine tar is concerned. It used to be,
and it used to be you cannot have pine tar above the label of the bat.
Right.
Now what happened with me is I had pine tar on my gloves, and I had 2 batting gloves, and when I would rub up the bat, it just got above that label. It was noticed by Steve Yeager because in the game previously it had happened to the Dodgers, and so he happened to take a look down, and my hit was just loud. Of course, George's was a little more dramatic at the time, and
I think it's 15 inches, I believe, is the rule book limit for the pine tar. In fact, if you look at the bat that Jermaine Dye is using, you'll see a little stripe. Same story for Joe Randa.
Well, see,
watch, the umpire uses home plate as the measuring stick.
Yeah, it's a 17-inch plate, and what they're saying is that the pine tar went above that.
So I guess it is 17 inches, but if you look at the bat that Dye is using, you'll see that blue little stripe around the bat. That might be the 17-inch mark to help the hitters keep the pine tar away from the barrel of the bat, and it is just below the label. 3 balls and a strike. 3-2 now.
Bullpen up and going, and it's Steve Rain again. It's the second time he's been up. He was up in the first inning, but Steve Traxel was able to right the ship for a bit. Now you might see a situation where Tony Muser, wanting to stay out of the double play, knowing Dye's success against Traxel over the course of his career, decides to run with him. So you might have a strike him out, throw him out situation, double play.
Sweeney a perfect 2 for 2. Measures it off. There he goes. The pitch swung on, placed out of play. And we'll do it again. Happy 88th birthday to Walter Stoppenhagen, watching in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Glenn Allen Hill might be getting ready.
Maybe thinking about switch hitting. He certainly has enough power from the right side. We know that.
I was going to say, why switch? Nothing wrong with the way he's batting normally. He's been terrific ever since putting on that Cub uniform again. High drive, lined out of play, and into the seats again by Dye.
Sweeney's getting a workout. Now might be a good time to use a good move at first base. Sweeney might be trying to get an extra step on the jump. Got one of the old Kansas City greats, Frank White, the first base coach, and a former teammate of mine, Richie Dower, the third base coach. He was my second baseman with the Baltimore Orioles. There's a look at Frank White.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Again to first. Brandon Madkin watching in Starkville, Mississippi. The second best Bulldog team in the Southeastern Conference. Wanted to say thanks to Steve for taking a picture with him Wednesday night at Harry Carey's restaurant on his birthday. Brandon asked Steve if he'd be kind enough to pick up the check as the runner goes, and it's smoked into center field. Playable for Curtis Goodwin. The wind pushes it right to it. 2 men down. Back to first goes Sweeney.
You know, I was just about to do that, Chip, but I came there with you that day. Didn't want to miss my ride home.
Oh,
Why,
okay.
does he have a comment on that?
No, he doesn't. He just said you quietly changed the subject and walked out the door.
Really?
How about that? Now that is a shock. And Tony Chiacchio watching in Haines City, Florida. Cub fan for 72 years. Wants Arnie to lower the crowd noise. The crowd's electric tonight, Tony, and it has been. Runner goes again. Pitch low. The read throw way off target. And it's a stolen base for Sweeney, his third of the year. And now an RBI chance for Aranda.
That time he got a tremendous jump off Steve Traxel, and it wasn't a great throw, but I don't think there's anything Jeff Reed could have done. Watch this. He gets a walking lead, and that is a no-no for any pitcher. You cannot allow the base runner to be moving when you're delivering the pitch. You have to make sure he's stationary. Now they're going to walk Joe Randa.
Well, the last time we intentionally walked one of their guys, it turned into a 3-run homer by the man that's standing on deck, and that's Tim Spear. It also happened in the 6th inning of yesterday's game. It also happened with 2 outs.
So what are you trying to say?
Well, it was Yogi Berra Day at Yankee Stadium. Hopefully it won't be deja vu all over again, as Yogi would have said. So 2 are on, 2 are out, and Tim Spear comes to the plate. The Cubs in the basement in the division. Other baseball, the Phillies are absolutely murdering Tampa Bay. It's 16-2. Scott Rowland 3 for 5 with a couple of home runs in that game. Here's Spear. And it's down from Traxel. 1 ball, no strikes. The Phillies 6.5 games behind Atlanta. And I think they're 2.5 games behind Cincinnati in the wild card. That's exactly what they are.
They are indeed, and playing very solid baseball. You know, that young man that we saw and hit very hard here, Randy Wolf, only to see him pitch a gem against us in Philadelphia, I believe is 5-0 right now.
Yes, he is. But they wish they had him about 3 weeks earlier than they got him.
I think they're getting some surprising pitching down through the rotation past Kurt Schilling. Schilling 14-4.
Paul Bird.
And Paul Bird's been terrific.
2 balls, no strikes. They remind me a lot of that Milwaukee team, the way they hit the baseball. A lot of line drive hitters on that ball club, and of course you're anchored by Scott Rowland.
But they also have a lot of speed at the top. I mean, Rowland is a combination of speed and power. They got Glanville at the top who can run. Abreu can run.
Ron Gant, who used to be able to run, hitting in the number 2 spot. Lieberthal behind the plate. They're a scary bunch. 3-0. He loses Spear, and the base is loaded for Ray Sanchez, and 2 out. You've got the pitcher's spot due next.
Well, Ray likes to hit first ball fastballs. That's what primarily he did when he was over here. He'd rather see him up in the zone, and he usually hits him either right back up the middle or to right center.
Bases loaded for Sanchez, who's popped out and struck out. 5-1 Kansas City, and they're looking for more here. The top of the order due for the Cubs when we come hitting again. And Sanchez launches that back into the seats. Florida leads Boston 7-3 in the 7th. Tigers 7, Cincinnati 5 in the 8th. Atlanta leads Toronto 7-6 in the 8th. Montreal beating the Yankees 4-2 in Yankee Stadium. Mets 3, Baltimore 1. Houston shutting out Cleveland again. It's 2-0 in the 5th. Cardinals over Minnesota 8-3 in the 5th. Another strike, 0-2. Texas has come back, a 5-3 lead over San Francisco in the 3rd.
I want to talk about a scary offensive team. Those Texas Rangers put a pretty good lineup out there every day.
You got Pudge. You've got Juan Gonzalez, Rusty Greer,
Lee Stevens.
Palermo's down there again. The 0-2. He took a little off.
And Royce Clayton's doing a pretty good job at shortstop for them.
One ball, two strikes to raise Sanchez the pitch. Just missed. 2-2.
Well, if you can throw a fastball letter high out over the plate, Ray will hit that fly ball to right or center field for you.
Bases full of Royals. Traxel in trouble again. The 2-2. Line drive right field. Sammy comes on. He puts it away. And the inning is over. No runs, one hit, three big runners left. Top of the order is coming up for the Cubs in a 5-1 Royal game. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Top of the Cub order is due. Jay Watasik has looked like Cy Young against us here tonight. He's given up only one run. He's given up just 3 hits. But this might be a tough inning for him, for the top 3 hitters in the Cub lineup come a-calling. He has settled in very nicely.
Well, the Cubs have been first pitch swinging quite a bit since that first inning.
Mickey almost got hit. Did you read the quotes in the USA today about the umpires?
Yes.
They're overlooked and underappreciated. 2-0 the count. That's becoming a seemingly more nasty confrontation between the umpires union and Major League Baseball by the day. And I think if Richie Phillips is asking baseball to call his bluff, he and his men might be very sorely disappointed come September 2nd.
I just really hope that they come to some sort of resolution, because as in every other negotiation chip, there is a middle ground. We know that.
Upstairs, 3-0. Baseball sure would miss the umpires, but like we've seen, when great players, great executives, great managers retire, pass away, whatever, the game does go on, and it will if these men decide to retire early, and we all hope they don't. 3-2. I can understand a lot of their frustrations, though. It's obvious that the communications between baseball and the umpires union have not been all that great. Lined over third and just foul. Oh, I thought that was in fair territory.
Well, Ed Montague was right on the line, and he was certainly in position to make that call. And unfortunately for Mickey, who would have had a 2-base hit, that one on the wrong side of the line as far as the Cubs were concerned. We'll watch it again. A line drive, and Montague right there taking a close look, and it is foul. So Montague with a pretty good call. And he's hearing it from the fans over there, but Ed was right.
Well, that's close. Looks like it skipped the chalk, perhaps. But it is a foul ball. 3-2. Doesn't matter. Mickey's on. Leadoff walk. First walk given up by Watasik in the game, and here's Jose Hernandez.
And now the Cubs are putting him in a stretch. Normally that's when you do get to him, and the Cubs have the right man up for the situation, and the bullpen's going to start to work. Watasik is not a guy that usually goes too deep into the game.
And that's where you want to go. You want to get into that Kansas City bullpen. Before the All-Star break, they gave up 29 runs in 29 innings. Here's Jose. And a breaking ball is in for a strike.
Well, Watasik is averaging just a little over 5 innings per start. That's just where he is right now. Tim Burdack loosening up in the pen.
He's the left-hander. No balls and a strike. Mickey at first in a 5-1 Royal game. Bad missed. Hector Doris, Jeremy, and Tamara Rodriguez watching the Cubs in Panama City, Florida. My old stomping grounds. They're watching in Blue Springs, Missouri. One ball, one strike. Ground ball up the middle. Sanchez, funny hop, flips two. Beltran, what a play. Fabos, I should say. Great play at second base. And there's one man out. Man, oh man, nothing gets through the infield for these guys.
Looked like a base hit when it left the bat. It came with a lot of overspin and looked like it was going over the head of Sanchez, but Ray reaches out, flips backwards. They get the force out. That's all they can get. But if this gets through, it shapes up as a tremendous inning for the Cubs. What a play by Ray Sanchez. We've seen it over and over again in this series. The middle of the infield, just spectacular for the Royals.
Hit it on a line past these guys, because if it's on the ground, they're going to get it. 1 on, 1 out now on the force play of Hernandez. And here's Grace. He takes a strike. He's 0 for 2. A 2-error play by Mike Sweeney in the first allowed Grace to reach, and he's also flied out to center.
Well, they are suspect at the corners, but certainly not up the middle. And I'm talking about defensively.
Approaching the 9 o'clock hour here in Chicago. And the news will follow us after the conclusion of Game 2 between the Royals and Cubs. Game number 90 of the campaign. The Cubs 10 games out of first, 8 games out of the wild card. A ball and a strike. Sammy waiting on deck. They're watching in Seminole, Florida, in South Fulton, Tennessee, and Metamora, Illinois tonight. The 2-1. High pop, 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes to Mark Grace. Let's pause quickly for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
Once again, the news follows us here on WGN. Cubs down 4 runs, 5-1 in the 6th. Grace, then Sosa. Unless we hit into a double play here. The pitch almost hit him.
Good stop by Spear behind the plate. And now you can run with Jose. Mark Grace very rarely strikes out. Looked like for a moment Jose would be standing at second. Didn't work out that way. Tim Spear made a fine play.
But he might be if Watasic misses with this 3-2 pitch. Traxel and the Cubs down 5-1. 3 balls, 2 strikes. The runner goes. Pitch swung on, line toward right field. Dye plays it on a hop. Hernandez on his way to third. Hit and run has him first and third, 1 out.
And I think the question for Tony Muser is, how long do you stay with your starter? Watasic is starting to look very vulnerable here, 3rd time through the order. And Mark Wiley's going to come to the mound. Jose takes off. Mark Grace on the 3-2 fastball drives it into right field. That's his first hit of the night. And runners at the corners, only 1 out for Sammy Sosa.
Grace now 21 away from 2,000 lifetime, and you know they don't want to bring in the left-hander to face Sosa. But Watasic is a fading horse at the moment. Tony Muser's bullpen has really let him down this year. They've pitched pretty well since the All-Star break. And when I say pretty well, Steve, that's really a relative term. The ERA since the break about 4.43.
Well, the starters haven't been too bad. The bullpen has been a problem. And again, with Jeff Montgomery, normally their closer, having an injury-plagued season, then it's mix and match in that pen. And you take a look and realize that there's not one closer down there with over 5 saves. A grand total of 15 for the team. So things get tough at the end for Tony Muser. And the Cubs are trying to make it tough right here.
Now that is a well-dressed ball hawk. Out and left.
Well, he figured he's stopping home from work. Might as well pick up a souvenir while he can. And if Sammy can pull it, he's just the guy to do it.
Sosa. A sac fly and a base hit. Off speed had him backing away for a strike. Houston shutting out Cleveland 2-0 in the 6th. Cincinnati losing to Detroit 7-5 in the 8th. Here it's 5-1 Kansas City, but Sammy could make it real interesting really quickly. First and third. The right-hander sets and delivers. 1 ball, 1 strike. We're approaching danger time. That's 9:11 local time. One ball, 1 strike. Get the fishnet ready, fellas, because Sammy's ready to come a-calling. Guy's got an Iowa shirt on, for crying out loud. How about a Cubs shirt? 1 ball, 1 strike. The pitch. Out of play, right side. Over the rooftops, 1-2.
Well, if I'm Tim Spear, I'm looking for a high fastball on the inner portion and try to throw it by Sammy. He hasn't been able to get the fastball by him yet, but he's throwing the ball out away from him. Spear looking over in the dugout, maybe to get a little help on pitch selection from Mark Wiley. Just what they want to do.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Hernandez and Grace lead the pitch. Oh, that just missed. Crowd oohs and ahs. 2-2. Well, here's the pitch Watasic wants it to happen on.
This one is low and away. Good call by Kerwin Danley. Tony Muser knows the importance of this. He might just make a change after Sammy, regardless of what happens here.
With Henry waiting on deck. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The stretch. Here's the pitch. Full count, 3-2. And the ball gets away from the Kansas City bullpen, so we'll have a momentary pause. News from baseball. Dodgers have beaten the Pirates 12-7. San Diego has activated Tony Gwynn from the disabled list. Tony La Russa not managing the Cardinals tonight. A stomach ailment. 3-2. The crowd roars for Sosa. Here it is. He lost him. Ball 4. They're loaded for Henry. A walk, a force play. A single by Grace. Now a walk to Sosa. Loads the bases. And Tony Muser sees Watasic give him 5 innings and 1/3 here at Wrigley Field. He's given up only 1 run, 4 hits so far, but the 3 men aboard belong to him. So into that poison pen goes Kansas City. We'll see if they can shut down the Cubs in a 5-1 game after this. Crowd roaring here at Wrigley Field. Bases full of Cubs. And the Royals go to the bullpen for the first time here tonight. And the tying run comes to the plate.
And Tim Burdick comes on. He's 0-2, a 9-point ERA, on for the 14th time. 10 earned runs in 10 innings. He's given up 3 home runs in 10 innings. He's walked 7. He's fanned 5. Gives you an idea why Tony Muser was so hesitant to go to the pen. But we shall see what fate awaits Henry.
And it's lefty against lefty. Tony Muser playing the odds, but for Henry, those odds have been terrific for the Cubs. He's hitting .280, .290 against left-handed pitching this year, and this is a man that was hitting .240 against southpaws his entire career. So bases loaded for the Cubs. First pitch to Henry, and him backing up. A walk means a run. 1 ball, no strikes. The lady looks pretty in green. The pitch swung and fouled out of play. The count evens 1-1. Green like the ivy. That should be the official color here at Wrigley Field. Everybody should have green on them at some time in their Wrigley Field viewing career.
Henry's hit very well with the bases loaded, and you'll probably see a sidearm breaking ball from Burdick.
And now Henry steps out. Wind dying down just a little bit tonight. It still is blowing in, but it's not nearly as ferocious as it was earlier. The 1-1. Broken bat toward the second baseman. Flip to first. Double play. And the inning is over. Can you believe that? A broken bat bloop to Fabulous. He throws on to first. Sosa doubled up, and the Cubs fail to score with the bases loaded and 1 out in the 6th inning. Unbelievable. 5-1 Kansas City. On after 6, and Stoney, it just sort of befuddles the imagination to see the Cubs making the kinds of mistakes that a veteran ball club is making.
Well, first of all, Sammy's going to be out at second anyway, so for him to run on this soft pop-up doesn't make much sense. And here's Sammy. Good play by Fabulous, and then it's easy, and what looked like a real promising inning turns into nothing for the Cubs.
So close the book on Witasic. 5 innings in a third, 4 hits, just 1 run, 2 walks, and a couple of strikeouts. And now Traxel goes back to work. He faces Tim Burdack here leading things off, and he misses with ball 1. Want to wish get well greetings to John Gerard, his brother Jerry, our TD at the ballpark tonight. John, hope you're feeling better. Burdack pops it out of play. Want to send along greetings to Ruthie Offenkamp, watching the game tonight in a town called Wahoo, 20 miles west of Omaha, Nebraska. Foul back, 1-2. Cubs down 5-1. Got a very interesting letter from Ruth Hutchinson in Chicago. She has, well, she's an English major, but she has written a charm for the Cubs to lift the curse of the poor play we've seen. Would you like to hear the curse lifting poem?
At this point, I'd like to hear just about anything.
First, the 3-2 to the pitcher. Line drive right center field. Base hit. Can you believe that?
Well, you should have said it before this particular play.
Burdack flies in with a double.
This is the pitcher that just came into the game. And that's his first at bat of the year. The dugout's going crazy, as you would expect. And that's his first major league hit. And it's a ringing double against Steve Traxel, which will
I got to
put
do
the
it.
bullpen up again.
I got to do it. A charm for the Cubs to lift the curse. Begone Black Cat's shadow. Begone Billy Goat's curse. Begone 69 Mets. Begone worst and worse. Burning sun and shimmering moon. Strike out of June or anytime swoon. Burn away ERA until you are not. Wind hold up the ball until you are caught. Rain down countless hits. Gild all the Cubs mitts. Shine a National League crown for the Cubs and Chi-Town. Now, I didn't pen those words. Ruth Hutchinson did. And she writes that Anglo-Saxon poets often included instructions. These are for the manager. You must take 9 bags of resin and swing a bag 3 times over the head of each of the starting 9. Then sprinkle a bag of sunflower seeds over the hands of the starting pitcher just before he takes the mound. Then you must recite the charm. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to do all of that. However,
how about if we just bang you in the head with one of those bags of resin?
Yeah, that might be next. But Ruth, we appreciate it. And hopefully it will work. It's 2 balls, no strikes to Johnny Damon, and I think Jim Riggleman has seen enough from Steve Traxel tonight. So Steve goes 6 innings. He gives up. I like Iowa almost as much as I love my beloved Bulldogs and the Kent State Librarians. Iowa's a close third. Steve Traxel departs. He's down 5-1. We'll be back in a moment. A hair-raising performance by Steve Traxel here tonight. 6 innings plus 7 hits, 5 runs so far, and goodness gracious, let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Yes, you're not kidding. Well, I've got 2 good pitches left in me. My first and last. And hopefully Steve Rain has some better luck. He inherits a 2-0 count, and he's been in 1 previous game.
He faces Johnny Damon. 3 balls, no strikes. Another final in. Philly has pounded Tampa 16-3. The Phillies with 22 hits. That Philadelphia team is playing great. For Mr. Francona, Phillies now have won 50 games. They've lost 41.
That walk is charged to Steve Traxel.
So make it 3 walks for Steve, 1 of them intentional. They're watching across the street. Hey, look over your right shoulder. You'll see yourself on TV.
Now we'll probably see a bunt from Fabulous, who beat out a perfect bunt in the first inning.
He is a good player. Rain misses with ball 1. Chad Oj got the win, by the way, for the Phillies. Wonder when they won their 50th game last year.
It wasn't in the middle of July, I can tell you that. That was Richie Dower, the third base coach. Somewhere in there is the bunt sign.
And we've seen the teams in our division much improved. The Pirates, the Cincinnati Reds, quite obviously. That Philadelphia team, one that a lot of people have overlooked. Not overlooking them now. They're 50-41. 6 games behind Atlanta. 2 games behind the Mets, with the rest of tonight's play still to be decided. 1-1 to Fabulous, who is 1 out of 3. Outside, 2-1. The curse of the top of the 7th.
It's Lori Metcalf tonight. You might remember her from Roseanne fame.
2-time Emmy Award-winning actress. And a native of Carbondale, Illinois. So she'll be along here at the conclusion of this half inning to help us conduct our 7th inning stretch. 2 balls and a strike. Now it's 3-1. He's trying to give the Cubs an out, but Steve can't find the range. Well, they're 1 day ahead of their pace. They won their 50th game, the Phillies, July 20th of last year. Curt Schilling got the victory. Somewhat surprising. Three balls and a strike. There's the bunt toward third. Tyler had better hurry. Unloads. It's wide at first, and the bases are loaded.
Well, Tyler loves to flip the ball from his glove hand to his throwing hand, and many times by doing that, it stops you from getting a good grip on it. He pulled Mickey off the bag. It will go as a sacrifice, Now we have to see if it's going to be E5.
The throw pulled him off the bag.
Yep. He'd have been out had it been a good throw. And it goes sacrifice E5.
Yeah. So Kansas City, a couple of errors. The Cubs with their first tonight, and the base is loaded with nobody out.
It's a very good bunt. But watch Tyler. He comes in, picks it up, and pulls Mickey just off the bag.
So the bases are loaded now for Beltran. And the infield in for the Cubs. Not an overly wonderful proposition for the Cubs infielders. As good a hitter as this man is. Tonight, a triple, 2 runs scored. He has scored 1 himself. He's bounced to first and grounded out to the shortstop. Cubs are coming home on anything hit to an infielder here. A ball and a strike. Milwaukee leads the White Sox 7-5 in the 7th. Cardinals 8, Minnesota 3 in the 7th. He missed again, 2-1. Texas 7, Giants 3 in the 5th. San Diego and Anaheim are scoreless, as is Colorado at Oakland, and Arizona battling the Mariners. Two balls, 1 strike. It's 2-2. Strikeout here would be real nice. The 2-2. Ripped into right field, base hit. That's going to score 1. It's a 6-1 game. Scoring after his first major league hit is Mr. Burdack. Runners move up 90 feet. 6-1 ball game. Give Beltran his 3rd RBI of the game with a base hit here in the 7th inning.
Well, I think that Marty Demerit is heading for carpal tunnel syndrome, because he keeps more charts than anybody in the world, and we've seen a parade of hits and runs over the past month. And the bullpen up and going again, and it's Ray King.
King, the left-hander. Here's Mike Sweeney, a career high 61 runs driven in, and he looks at a ball low. Again, the Cubs needing to take advantage of this homestand, have not done it to this point. And they might be deciding the fates of some of their teammates with the poor play of late. The 1-0. Ripped over short. That's going to drop for a hit, and that's going to score Damon. Here comes Fabulous around third. He will score. Now Beltran runs through a stop sign. He's in a rundown. Stays in it long enough to allow Sweeney to get to second. Now gives himself up. 2 more runs are in. There's the first out, however, as Sweeney drives home 2.
Sweeney 3 for 4 with 3 driven in, lines this ball into left field. And an overly aggressive Carlos Beltran rounds second base, gets trapped by Henry. And the Cubs record their first out of the inning, but not before 3 runs have scored. 2 of them charged to Steve Traxel.
So 7 hits, 7 runs for Traxel in 6 innings. Fabulous has scored against Rain. Sweeney at second belongs to Steve. And Jermaine Dye, the hitter, and he takes a quick strike. Well, where do we go from here? It's 8-1 Royals. Ripped into left. Henry on the run. He can't get it. It's off the base of the wall. That's going to score Sweeney. We go to 9-1. A double for Dye. Rain's gotten shellacked tonight. He's given up 2 runs.
Here comes Jim Riggleman, and here comes Ray King.
Rain goes 1/3 of an inning. He gives up 3 hits. He's given up 2 runs so far. No walks, no strikeouts, and no pitching tonight for the Cubs. Here comes Ray King in the 7th inning. Sums up the last month and a half.
Well, Chip, I think Mark Grace experiencing frustration because there's really no defense for what's happened. And it hasn't been a pretty homestand so far. These are teams that certainly you should have been able to take advantage of, and it hasn't worked out that way. It's all Kansas City tonight, and they keep pouring it on.
And we're talking about two teams that had two of the worst records in the American League. In fact, two of the worst records in all of baseball that have come in here and have given the Cubs an awful lot of trouble. Joe Randa had a homer back in the 4th inning. He faces King now. Now, granted, there was a defensive error by Tyler Houston in this inning, but there's no defense for the walks. There's no defense for the rocket shot gap hits that this Kansas City team has recorded, and the opposition has recorded in the last 7-8 weeks. And a lot of people want to say, as King misses way outside, well, the effect of Kerry Wood certainly is having an effect on this team. It is. But in fairness, you've got to say this too. When this Cub team was 9 games over 500 and a game out of first place, no one was saying that Kerry Wood was a factor. So you got to be consistent in that regard. No one's going to have any sympathy for the Cubs with the injury situation.
And every team that we've seen has injury problems, some more serious than others. I mean, Houston has certainly had their share. Everett's on the disabled list. They've had Alou gone for the entire season. And from last year, they lost their #1 guy. Randy Johnson led the way, and he left that team. So, the guys who are here have to do the job. They haven't been doing it real well lately.
And even though there's still a lot of time left in this season, for all intents and purposes, considering the number of teams the Cubs are going to have to pass, it's looking more and more like it's going to take a miraculous effort for the Cubs to repeat the magic of 1998 here in 1999. Got some help tonight from the Tigers, though. They beat Cincinnati again, 7-6. So the Reds starting to fade a little bit. Houston is winning. 3-2. Another walk. Randa's aboard. 2 on, 1 out. King walks the first man he faces.
Jim Rugman looking over his lineup card. He realizes there's a day game tomorrow. He doesn't want to go too many more out of that bullpen.
And now time call. I think a baseball was tossed onto the field of play. Let's hope we don't have to see Gary Gaetti go down to the bullpen again.
No, I think 1 time per year is about enough.
His arm's still trying to recover, I think. 9-1 Kansas City. Here's Tim Spear. And a ball way outside from King. The 1-0 is high again. 2-0. Here comes Marty Demerit.
He's going to suggest to Ray that he get the ball over the plate.
Marty's made more trips than a free passenger on the Lusitania. Visit after visit after visit.
Well, this isn't the friendliest one he's had on the mound. And there are spots to be had in that bullpen. They're just waiting for a couple of guys to step forward and take them. There's
Two balls, no strikes. It's high. 3-0. Well, it all started with the Burdack double. He might hit again in this inning.
Burdack double and you reading that curse lifter.
It didn't work, by the way. The pitch right through there. Oh, he didn't have the rosin bag or the bats to do it properly. Three balls and a strike. High, lazy pop-up. Who wants it? Jose drifts out, calls away Goodwin. 2 down. Spear retired. Toronto has just beaten Atlanta 8-7. That a final in 10 innings at Skydome. Toronto again. They're 50-45. They're making a bid for a wild card spot.
And I think that's one of the clubs that will certainly be looking to acquire as they try to make a bid for a wild card spot, especially after hearing the news that Pedro Martinez has a tender shoulder.
He's going to miss one start for the Red Sox, and Boston losing tonight, so Toronto could get to within 2 games of the Red Sox for the AL wild card. One ball, no strikes. That Oakland team hanging in there as well. They're only 5 behind Texas.
They're closer in the wild card than they are in their division.
Wouldn't it be something if the Indians get shut out for the 2nd straight night?
Especially after having one shutout all year.
2-1. Those Astros are red hot. They've won 7 straight. Cincinnati beaten tonight. Houston could grab a 3-game lead, and they're looking to maybe put this thing away here in the last week and a half of July. 2-1. Ground ball right side. Mickey to his left. Fields fires, throws in time, and the inning mercifully over. Here's Laurie Metcalf with our 7th inning stretch.
The Cubs and Budweiser welcome Emmy Award-winning actress Laurie Metcalf.
Here we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Chip Carey, Steve Stone, our special guest, Laurie Metcalf, Emmy Award-winning actress, and even more importantly, out of Carbondale, Illinois.
Well, yes.
Welcome home, so to speak.
Thank you. Back to Illinois for sure. Yeah.
Great to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
Sorry about the top of the 7th inning.
No, it's sort of a tradition.
Well, unfortunately,
That's what I hear.
this
It's
year it
become
has
that,
been.
yes.
How are things?
Just great. Just opened in a play last night at
Great.
Steppenwolf Theater.
What is the play entitled, and
It's
what's
called
it
The Beauty Queen of Lenon. It's an Irish play, and it did very well in the reviews today.
Great.
So that was pleasing, and it's a great, intense drama with comedy.
Well, that's something I'm sure you're a stranger to.
Well, how's the Norm show doing?
I love it. And we're going to come back and do 13 more episodes. And he, to me, is one of the funniest people. Norm Macdonald, he's just great.
Gary Gaetti, the batter, pinch hitting for Tyler Houston. 2 balls, 2 strikes to him in a big Kansas City game. 9-1 is the score. Of course, everybody, Laurie, remembers you from the Roseanne show.
Yeah.
What was that like on a day-to-day basis? The show looked like it was so much fun from a viewer's perspective.
It was a
It had
lot
to be
of
just
fun.
like that for you guys.
It was. I miss it still. It's been off the air for 2 years, but it was a ball. We had a very tight cast, and it was like doing a little play every week.
Gaetti strikes out. He can't believe it. 1 man down. It seemed like such a part of Americana.
I know.
It really
I know.
was.
It was.
How long was the run of that show?
It ran for 9 seasons, and my son was born on the show.
Oh, that's wonderful. Your son's name is?
Will.
Will, how old are you, Will? How old are you?
5.5.
5.5. That's great. Good-looking kid at 5.5. Big Cubs fan. Got the shirt on and
Big
everything.
Cub fan and big ball player.
Oh, terrific. Can you pitch? No, not yet. Well, we might want to convince you to pick up a baseball and get ready here in the next couple of years. The way things have gone here of late. Jeff Reed, the batter. And he grounds the ball toward first. That is a fair ball. Sweeney steps on the bag. 2 men down.
Jeff Reed never ran, and that's not going to make the fans happy, even in 9-1 game. Right on the line, Mike Winters. The call belongs to him once it crosses the bag, and Jeff Reed hears it from the folks behind the dugout.
So Manny Alexander will stand in with 2 men out here. He'll bat for Goodwin.
Reed thinks this is foul, but you can't do your own umpiring.
And Laurie, you founded, along with a lot of other folks, the Steppenwolf Theater back in 1976.
Yes.
Great to be back there, I'm sure.
Oh, of course. We're in our 24th season now,
Wow.
I think, and I've known all these people for that many years.
Tends to fly by, I would imagine.
It does. Yeah.
Well, you get the best of both worlds because you get to come back to Chicago in the summertime and do a play.
Yes.
And then I guess you live in Los Angeles, obviously, when you're filming during that season.
Yes. It is the best of both worlds. And maybe throw in a little movie part here and there. And it's
That's right. Well, which do you prefer, the stage, the television acting, or the film acting? Or is it all the same for us?
No, it's not all the
non-actors?
same, and by far I prefer the stage.
Really?
So I'm having a great time this
Well, that's
summer.
great. Now, if folks want to come see you in the Beauty Queen Linane, how would they do that?
Call the Steppenwolf Theater. Yep.
1 ball, 1 strike to Manny Alexander. Jeff Blauser's grabbed a bat. He's on deck here in the 7th inning. 9-1 Kansas City. We're visiting with Emmy Award-winning actress Laurie Metcalf. The pitch is lined out of play. Foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes. It's been a while since you've been back to Wrigley Field.
Last summer.
Last summer? So no, it hasn't been that long.
Not too long. I was in Chicago doing a play last summer also, so we always come here.
1-2. Manny looping fly ball hit to right at Jermaine Dye. He's got it. 1-2-3. Bottom half of the 7th. Laurie, we're sorry the visit couldn't have been as long as the top half of the inning, but we appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the Steppenwolf Theater.
My pleasure.
Okay, Laurie Metcalf, thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us. Will, nice to meet you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And 1 our score. A couple of changes defensively for the Cubs. Jose Hernandez moves from short to center. Manny Alexander into the game at shortstop. Gary Gaetti in at third for the Cubs. Tim Burdack hitting a cool 1,000. He doubled and scored, and he has a pretty good cut. He's not afraid up there at all.
Well, I told you, pitchers are terrific athletes.
Burdack, just 25 years old. He resides in Oak Forest. 5th round pick by the Royals in '94. Used pretty much exclusively as a reliever the last 2 years down in the minor leagues for Kansas City. Attended South Suburban Community College in South Holland, Illinois in '92 and '93, and went to Rice as well. That back in 1994.
So he's an owl, as well as one of our esteemed members of the crew was a big owl fan. The commander. The Temple
but that's the
Owls.
Temple Owls, yeah.
Right, different owl.
Lance Berkman is an owl. He plays for the Houston Astros. He's the guy that might make Derek Bell expendable at season's end. Ah, yes. Put your head on my shoulder. Not you, Steve. Broken bat ground ball hit to second. Mickey has it, and Burdack hustling down the line. You like to see that from a young player. But he loses 500 big points off that batting average. He's 1 for 2, and here's our Ameritech playbook.
It came in the first inning on a 3-1 pitch. Carlos Beltran puts a charge into it. Turns out to be a 2-run triple. The Royals have never looked back. And so Carlos Beltran, our Ameritech play of the game.
Scott Pose will be the hitter. Pose, an interesting bio in his Kansas City and Major League notebook. Scored the first run in Florida Marlin history. The first base hit, I beg your pardon, in Florida Marlin history. Made that team on opening day. Another good crowd here tonight, but they're a little angry this evening. 9-1 Kansas City. Diamondbacks have scored first in Seattle. They lead the Mariners 1-0 in the third. Oakland has scored 4 against Colorado, 4-zip.
Over 38,000.
Again tonight. And the Cubs continue to draw sellout after sellout. Another 38,000 tonight gets us to about 1.39 million. Ground ball by Pose, hit to Manny. It's short, unloads quickly and in time. 2 up, 2 down for Carlos Fabulous. Fabulous has scored twice tonight.
Manny Alexander on the move, charging this ball aggressively and making the play. So after that little visit to the mound by Marty Demerit, Ray King is settled down.
You had a pretty good line about this guy last night. Does he have a brother named Aesop? Throw to first in time. Fabulous retired. 3 up, 3 down in the 8th. On we go to the bottom half. 9-1-2 R2 as the Cubs down 8. Blauser will pinch hit for the Cubs in a 9-1 Kansas City rout. We're in the 8th inning. Cubs in danger of falling farther behind. There's a look at Jeff Blauser here. Jeff batting for Ray King.
Scott Pose stays in the game in left field. And that's the only change.
King issued only a walk in his inning in 2/3. All zeros the rest of the way. And a 1-ball 1-strike count.
Hey, Cleveland finally got on the scoreboard in Houston.
Well, did they now? And they've tied the game at 2. It's in the bottom of the 8th inning. Blauser sends it a mile high into shallow center field. Beltran comes on, 1 man down. This Wednesday will be Sprint PCS Day at Wrigley Field. Quality Sprint PCS digital phones and services will be given away every inning. You can win one with a lucky ticket number drawing or stop by the Cubs administrative offices at the ballpark for a free entry form. That's Sprint PCS Day at Wrigley Field when the Pirates are in town Wednesday, July 21st. Top of the order now, and Mickey Morandini. Rick Aguilera getting ready. He could use a tune-up. The Limbecks are here. Enjoying the ball game tonight. Sent along a couple of nice photographs of themselves dining at Harry Carey's restaurant downtown. We appreciate that gesture as well. The 1-1 pitch. Laced down a play and into the seats. 1-2 to Mickey.
Both bullpens now getting ready.
Breaking ball stays high. Cub fan Jim Bennett in San Diego has an interesting idea. Broken bat roller hit toward the right side. Who wants it? The second baseman throws to the pitcher. Covering. Did he hang on? No, it's not in time. Morandini's aboard. Apparently Burdack missed the bag.
I gotta believe that was Sweeney's fault. You can't stray that far from the bag. Makes it too tough. And now I think they've recalled him out.
You're right. They originally had him out, and then apparently he got a cleat on the bag, so it is an out to Morandini.
But Sweeney shouldn't be straying that far from the bag because Fabulous is going to make that play. And it makes it real difficult with a pitcher going over to cover. Now, on a judgment call, there's really not much you can argue about.
We have the benefit of the replay, of course. And we told you earlier that this Kansas City team is going to struggle at first base. They don't have a true first baseman down there. Sweeney and Giambi handle most of the chores down there after Jeff King's retirement. And that's a play with a guy like Fabulous, as much range and skill as he has at second base. Anything hit to the right side, just go cover the bag. He's going to gobble it up anyhow.
Indeed.
So it's a 4-1 putout. Riggs continues to argue. And we'll show it to you in a moment. But Jim Bennett, watching in San Diego, has an idea. We ought to have a guest home plate umpire as well as a guest conductor of the 7th inning stretch. He nominates Mike Ditka to be the first home plate umpire. Let's see, did he get it? Now, well, you know what it is? Morandini never touched the bag.
Missed the bag.
Mickey never touched the bag. He tried to avoid the umpire, or avoid the pitcher.
Well, there's